What's up, everybody? Derek Johnson here. Some know me as Rattletrap 1776. I'm live on Instagram and also Facebook. So I promise I go live. I've been on the road for right at a month. So I'm in Nashville, Tennessee right now, getting ready to record my brand new album tomorrow. 13 new songs, maybe more. We'll see. But anyway, I've just wanted to come on here. I've been getting a lot of questions, and even some of my management had some questions, and so about some stuff. So we're going to paint a little picture as fast as I can because I'm working with a little bit of daylight left. I'm in a spot that don't have a lot of great light. But anyway, so let's just do a little re-emphasis really quick on what I talk about. You know, you'll hear people out there saying that I'm just prolonging stuff and I'm just keeping you going and I'm just keeping you dragging along. People who say that, for lack of better words, are morons and idiots. All right. But for probably better words, better terminology, they're lazy. They haven't read anything. They haven't studied anything. They're all President Trump in their mouth and no President Trump laws and orders. The presidency doesn't work like that. You know, from the get-go, this is my real name, Derek Johnson. I do have the Rattletrap 1776, but that was my Telegram name. And then I have 1776 Nation, and then we made a secondary page just because we thought, you know, Facebook might keep their shenanigans going, and I made Rattletrap 1776 Nation. And so, you know, from the get-go, I've been my real name. All right, and I do this on purpose just for fun, but I've told ladies who are around me, they'll say, dang, you're taller, and then, you know, I'm like, I've told you, I'm right at 6'5". But I do this on purpose just to prove a point. You know, I'm my real me. I'm not wearing, you know, nothing. Now, I don't have a tan right now, and but I'm really me. All right, so all these people out there that normally talk trash, they're hiding behind, they normally don't have a profile picture. They don't have a real name. So they straight out the gate show how stupid they are right out the gate. I'm my name, I'm me, here I am, and I am what I am. Now, I've never claimed to be a hero, and I've never claimed a medal that I don't, you know, that I don't have in the military. I don't even talk about my military service. So you'll hear people out there saying that. So now, it's what we call in the South, it's a Southern slang term, it's what we call nut cutting time. All right, for a lot of veterans out there, not a lot, I'd say it like that, it sounds like a lot more, but there's a few veterans that showed resistance toward me because they're all DD-214, no laws and orders. They're all about their service, but they're not laws and orders, all right? Not knocking your service. So when you hear people out there say stuff that, oh, he goes after veterans, no, I don't. I'm a veteran. I love my brothers and sisters in arms. But we have to be smart and intelligent. You've heard President Trump say we have to protect intelligence in this nation. All right. God blessed me with the ability to retain and maintain all the information that I have. All right. Now, I didn't memorize it. Not like that. Not from a memorization standpoint. It's passion of mine. All right. But I've never claimed anything that I'm not. So there's that. So you don't have to be a veteran to know what's going on. So see, there's what everybody's seeing right now is good versus evil, and you're seeing a lot of selfish people versus unselfish people. You're seeing passionate people versus people who just want a name and a face. So you're seeing a lot of wheat and chaff being separated. All right. So what stands people apart is consistency. But then you got to know what is being worked with. President Trump is not firing off at the hip as he goes. All right. And he didn't do this as a regular president. And so there's laws and orders that are in place that more than uniquely, listen to the words, uniquely outline a military occupation, a military government, continuity government, government in exile, etc., all special operations. All right. So again, if you're not reading all that entails that, and if you're not comprehending all the terms and the glossary and the index that makes up all of these laws and orders, then you're going to look atrocious. And a lot of Republicans this past week and the week before look atrocious. Terrible. And you're not a patriot We found out who the real patriots are, but that's also showing you the people out there who are supposed to be the government. We the people, that's what that term means. We the people are the government. All right, so we're going to get into that. I'm going to make a few notes here. When I say things, it makes me remember things. And let me do that really quick. There's one thing. I've got my little notes here to keep me on point, because I will ramble. So, why all of a sudden in U.S. history are you seeing things you've never seen before out of D.C., out of a president, etc.? It's because there's a unique setup, unique laws and orders that are invoked current laws and orders that outline that. Liberals look atrocious right now. Let's just be, if it were me, if I was Commander-in-Chief, even though I know that this is a plan, it was pre-planned, all of what you're watching is pre-planned, I would deport liberals all day long. That's me. So they better be glad. I would be a dictator to them. They would be getting deported just for saying the wrong thing about using the word the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't apply to what's going on right now with how they're trying to present it. If they present it the wrong way, boop. See you in Tanzania. Enjoy Tanzania. Enjoy Madagascar. You'd be gone. All right, you wouldn't be here. So, a lot of the Republicans are looking atrocious. Oh, that's the thing I meant to do. Let me put this here. That's what I need to remember right there. My one last note. So what I do, what I'm known for, I guess if you want to say that, I don't like using that kind of terminology because it sounds like I'm talking about myself, but it is factual. What I'm known for is, look, stop watching news, stop watching Fox, stop watching OAN, stop watching Newsmax, stop following all your big name blue badges or red badges if you're on True Social. Stop following them until you have a foundation in place of what President Donald John Trump is using. The White House just posted a post just night before last, laws and orders with the American flag. That's all I talk about are public laws and orders that President Trump is using. Now, I'm not a law and order guy simply because it's a law and an order. But you have all these different cliques out there and all these different people trying to make a name and they want to make money. They're selling you butt cream, face cream, that cream, this, buy this, and they got 1 million links for everything. Come on, people. Now, I know some good people that are good podcasters that also sell stuff, but you still got to go with what are they presenting to you. I don't do that to you. I don't have sponsors. I don't have any of that. I travel the nation on my dime. All right? I don't get paid to speak and won't ever because it's public laws and orders. All right? So it's my service beyond my service. And it ain't about me, but that's what every individual is supposed to be doing. But you got to know what the commander's working with. And you see all these other people out there spinning all these narratives all the time. They're not even listening to the man they claim to support. You got to listen to the commander. He's not firing off at the hip when he posts up laws and orders. You got to know the laws and orders. And you don't have to be a lawyer to know the laws and orders. That's another thing that Americans got in trouble with the past 60 and 70 years. You put too much trust into names and titles and congressmen and women, and you don't even know their role in jobs. They work for us. They represent us. If I hired one of you to represent me, then you're supposed to go around saying what I want you to say. Or you shouldn't work for me. So that's what Congress is supposed to do. So anytime a liberal uses the Constitution as their basis and foundation, they look dumber than a box of turtle hair. That's the worst thing they could use as their foundation to stand on. Because the Constitution was written for us to keep Congress in check. They represent us. So you had to have a man come in who was willing to put his name, brand, face, everything on there and say, yes, I'll sign this. Yes, I'll take this. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll be the face of this operation. This is Congress, bipartisan, but not in a constitutional manner. It's constitutional in another manner. This is why it's hairline. You got to listen. But a military occupation, a military operation, continuity of government, that means the Constitution's been suspended. That happened way back in 2020. If it didn't, the liberals wouldn't have been talking about it way back when. Oh, he says he's going to terminate the Constitution. No, it's the wrong terminology. There's a suspension clause, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2 of the Constitution that they like to use in their mouth, but they don't know anything about the Constitution. And guess what Article 1 is? Legislative branch. Not President Trump. That's the legislative branch who suspends the Constitution. So see, you got to know this stuff. And so my point is all I talk about are laws and orders that outline what President Trump's doing. Not laws and orders, period. I outlined the blueprint. That's why you, the people, gave me #1 best-selling books. It's because I took it and put it in one setting, chronological order of how President Trump pulled it off. But pulling in special operations and how special operations pulled it off lawfully. It's that simple. So what I teach people is how you escape all the drama and propaganda and all the flapping gums out there who just want to be a name and a face. All right, I'm not afraid to say something to some of them, depending on what it is. I try not to be offensive, meaning on the offense, but I'll defend myself. But sometimes there needs to be called out. You people, some of you are getting tripped up by a pre-plan. All right, and so that's what we're going to talk about. But what I do is teach people how you escape all that, how you know exactly what's going on with the foundation. Now, there's some things that you're not going to know because it's part of a mission still. All right, so the military occupation, military government, continuity of government doesn't mean you're exempt from things not happening. It means that there's a parameter that's been set and the military has control of that. And they're not going to let it go past those parameters. But we, the people, have to fight for it as well. They just set the playground for us to fight. And I have to say, they got to be pretty, they got to be pretty disappointed to see some of the Americans, the way the Americans are responding out there. Looks atrocious, especially people who claim to be President Trump supporters. Look atrocious, especially after President Trump posted something on his page and you got all these idiots out there, blue badges saying, oh, you got to know the difference in a post and a repost. There's no difference. If I reposted something of yours on my page, that means I'm looking at your page and I want my people to see what you posted. That's how stupid Americans have become. And I know people don't like the word stupid, but it goes back. Stupid games get stupid prizes. So if you look the part, then you should be called out for looking the part. If it strikes a nerve, then it probably is hitting a nerve. That if something strikes a nerve with you, then that probably means you're doing exactly what's the results of being called out for. So President Trump gave everybody a visual. A year and 7 months before November the 5th, 2024, he put 45-47 on his ball cap. Not by recommendation, and it definitely wasn't me. He put that on his ball cap. He's telling the whole world, I'm not only was your 45th president, I'm your 46th in a wartime president, unique laws and orders. He put that out April the 2nd, which was Liberation Day this year. He put it April the 2nd, 2023. That's when it was on his websites. So he's also claiming 47 a year and 7 months before 47 actually happened. You know how bold and cocky that would be? You know how stupid he would look if that did not take place? You know how stupid that would be if he put that out on the ball cap? No president's ever done this before. No president campaigning's ever put out that, oh, I'm going to be your 42nd president. Oh, I'm going to be your 38th president. No president's ever done that before. Do you know how bold and cocky that is in another way if I didn't know what I know? But you know how stupid he would look if that didn't take place? Come on, people. Come on, patriots. Come on, President Trump supporters. How can you support a man that you don't even listen to? How can you love a man but then turn around and go, I don't know about this guy. I don't know about Derek Johnson. I don't know about Rattletrap. I mean, he just keeps I'm not prolonging anything. It's validated every day. All these patriots here know that. It's validation every day. And everything in my books has been printed. And my books stem from the documents that were printed January 2021. There's stuff in there that's just now taking place right now. That's already been in there all this time. And I didn't just write them in 2021. I wrote that over the course of 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2021. Right? I put it all in one location. And then they were sitting there all that time from January 2021, timestamp, but I didn't go viral, globally viral on Facebook until August 24, 2022. But all that stuff in there, the documents.info. Some of the links don't work, but like President Trump said, they're going to be deleting stuff because they're trying to get rid of evidence. So he tells you everything you need to listen to. And so some Republicans are looking atrocious. They're looking like the never-Trumpers they always were. All right, a lot of these people are never-Trumpers, and they had to get on board because that's all they had to get on board with. Right? So it's showing you that there's people out there still who don't know what the man's working with, don't know anything about the man they claim to support, and should. Because this is not an operation for Republicans. It's not an operation for conservatives. It's not an operation for just patriots who are on those sides. This is for humanity. It's all there. So if you really want to know what's going on, you got to separate all this other stuff. You got to put all this other stuff aside. Put your foundation with what President Trump's working with. What is currently invoked in laws and orders. That's what you got to have right here every day. Then you can have the attitude I have. Then you can smile every day. Then you can grin. Then you'll be at peace. You'll have solace. You'll have calmness in your life. And you might even just grow into be a little smart ass like me who just knows because I know. And my books have already been validated. The people here, the patriots, the real patriots who want to know, who want to read, who want to study. And a lot of people, let's be honest, I've had emails come from people who apologized, and that takes integrity right there. I've had emails from people who apologized. So you know what? I had you wrong at first, but I went and read and studied everything. You put it in a chronological, and then I went and looked at the actual links. I looked at the .gov and the .mil, and I read it, and holy that. It's all there. It is all there, because I didn't write all this stuff personally. I didn't pass these laws. I didn't put these laws in paper. And a lot of these laws have been in the books for years and years and years. So if the laws were unlawful, then how come Congress kept them in law all these years for a revolution to take place? See, they never dreamt someone would take it over. They never dreamt a bunch of good guys and gals would get in there and infiltrate this filthy, dirty system. They never dreamt that there were special operators who were in their presence the whole time collecting all this. We have it all. We've caught them all. President Trump told you this in 2020. But oh, you patriots out there, oh, it was stolen. The election was stolen. You didn't see all the laws and orders that outline a unique operation. And you wouldn't listen to people like me because, oh, how can you know what you know? You young whippersnapper, you ain't been alive. You weren't in the military long enough. Blah, 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 blah. See, you let experience get in your way from knowing that this is all book smart time. This is all book smart. All you got to do is have a brain, an IQ, and initiative to read and study what's in place. So a lot of people are guilty of that. So that's what's taking place. So anyone who says, if you hear anybody from this day forward say that, oh, this is all bullcrap, blah, 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 they're showing their IQ. No one, not a single person has ever taken all the laws and orders that are in the Midnight Rider Rides Again. Not a single person has taken all the laws and orders at one time and showed how they don't mean what they most certainly mean. Because law don't work that way. That's how the law is. It's supposed to be neutral. So a lot of you out there, farmers, ranchers, you'll understand this. All right. A water trough. All right. There's horses that don't like each other. You can see it out. If you've ever been around enough, you can see that. All right. There's some animals that don't like each other. A water trough. But they all go to that water trough, especially if it's only a water trough there. All right. So that water trough is neutral because it's just water. It's just a resource for the horses. That's what law is. All right. So when you have all these people who will look at a law that most certainly reads the way it does, and they try to misconstrue it and misinterpret it, but reinterpret it in their kind of way, that's when you have bureaucracy. That's when you have money slid under the table. That's when you have deals being made. All right. So that's why you got to have what? You, the people, we, the people, transparent, but also all knowing of what the laws are. And the laws are supposed to be our laws. Whether they be state laws or federal, it's supposed to be what we want. But guess what happened all these years? Bureaucracy. So the laws and orders have always been there. Yep, sure have. But there wasn't enough people who knew what was going on to rise up and say, what the heck are you guys doing? What are you doing? Because Congress did what to you all those years? They gaslit everybody. That's what they did. They manipulated and gaslit everybody. And if someone did rise up a little bit, they'd say, well, the law says this right here, right here. And guess what those people did? They just quieted down and didn't go read and go, no, the law reads this, and you just misinterpreted that, and that's not what you did over here. So see, Americans let this fester and fester and fester. And guys like me either look like a genius to some people, but it's really not. Now, I can retain a lot of stuff, sure. But this is stuff that everybody's supposed to know. Even on a basic level, the three branches of government, your Revolutionary War, the military came first, and it's stuff that people should know. You should be passionate about because you're in the greatest nation of all, the ideology that our founders had, and we have fought for that. That's why liberals look atrocious right now. All right, so saw a Democrat post this week. It's kind of funny. So there's a Democrat. It was 2 pages. One page shared another page, and it was Farrah Fawcett or someone, one of their Kurt Russell, their son or something. All right, little sissy boy. All right, never done anything in his life. Spoon fed, spoiled by the parents that he had. Right, never done anything, and all these liberals are praising him. Right. And he's out there and he's talking in front of these National Guard. And he's saying, you guys took an oath to the Constitution. You shouldn't have used that there, libtard. And then turned around and said, you're taking orders from a bunch of guys in suits. He probably shouldn't have said that either, moron, because of this. All right. Now, a lot of members in the military don't know what I know. However, when they're under oath and they're under orders, they're going to take orders. The orders are all lawful. All right. So see, when they say don't take unlawful orders, these people don't even know the law. They don't know anything about our foundation. This is how stupid, all right, Mr. whatever his name is looks. All right. This is how stupid he looks. All right. So American history, real quick. So the Army, we're about to celebrate our 250th birthday. I just happen to be an Army veteran. So on June 14th, we're going to celebrate our 250th birthday. All right. Well, President Trump, it just so happens to be his birthday too. But then also it's the flag's birthday. So let's do a little history here. So the Revolutionary War was kicked off April the 18th and April the 19th when the Midnight Rider, Paul Revere, rode through the town, which I named my book after. He and I were the same age when we made our midnight rides. You know, it's cool how history works. All right. Well, so April the 19th, the Battle of Lexington and Concord kicked off the war. So our founders kicked off a war before they had anything on paper of what they were fighting for. That is how freaking stupid liberals are. This is how stupid they are. And you have to use the term stupid because there's no, and I had a sergeant in the military go, stupid. That's how stupid people are. This is how stupid they are. The war was kicked off before anything was on paper. April 19th. June 14th, 1775, the Army was established. June 30th, 1775, the very first military law. They called them the War Articles back then. Military law came long before the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. That is how ignorant and stupid liberals are. October 13th, United States Navy. November the 10th, United States Marine Corps, the Continental Marine Corps. December the 3rd, 1775, the very first flag, the Union Jack flag, all came before the Declaration of Independence. Then you have the Declaration of Independence. Our founders are declaring independence before the war was over. 7 years before the war was over, they declared independence. That's how atrocious and stupid liberals look. They're ignorant. They're so unappreciative of everything of the nation that they're in. And then they use the term Constitution. The Constitution was not written for us, the people. The Declaration of Independence is the one that says, but when a long train of abuses, right, becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people. It is their right, it is their duty to overthrow such government and reset it. That's how stupid liberals are. They're ignorant and stupid, and they need to be deported. They're atrocious. They have no appreciation, one, of our foundation. They have no appreciation of our military, two. They have no appreciation of the Revolutionary War and the Declaration of Independence that gave us our rights, the founders who established this long before the Constitution. Then you had the Articles of Confederation. They came around November the 15th, 1777. But June the 14th, 1777, on the 2-year anniversary of the Army's birthday, the flag was sworn in to Congress. The United States flag, the Betsy Ross flag as they call it. 51 days later, it flew in the bloodiest battle of the Revolutionary War. That's the first place it flew. So all the people like Colin Kaepernick, all right, who wants to kneel down, and all these other freaking Muslims over here, you're welcome here if you come here lawfully, and if you come in here and you buy into our ideology. That's how that works. You're welcome here if you buy into our ideology. That's how that works. Because if we went to your nation, we got to abide by how your nation works. So when you come here and you say that you're, my family are immigrants, they became lawful Americans. The immigrant name went out the window when they became an American who buys into our ideology, our foundation of what my family established. See, my lineage traces back to Native American, but also my lineage traces back way before the Mayflower. So my people have been here long before most of these people. So when my ideology trumps, all pun intended, yours and mine supports that foundation, your ass and your, whatever you want to call it out there, your opinions don't mean doo-doo if yours is against that. That's how that works. That's exactly how that works. So then you have the Constitution. It was written as a framework to keep Congress in check of a federal government. You morons. So when you liberals out there use the Constitution as your basis, that this is all unlawful, you are stupid. You look ignorant to people who do know. It's a framework to keep Congress in check. But when a long train of abuses and when becomes destructive of these ends, it is their right, it is their duty to overthrow such government. Meaning that Constitution don't mean shit anymore, because they're not abiding by it. All right, now the framework's still there, so we put it aside for a moment. It says, okay, you haven't been doing what you're supposed to be doing, so guess what we're going to do? It's time for eradication. Yo ass is grass. Time to get out of here, pack your bags, and go home. That's what that means. So when all these idiots out there and these morons and these libtards out there want to say, oh, I have freedom of expression, no, you don't. If your freedom of expression doesn't support our founders' whole ideologies, the Federalist Papers, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Revolutionary War, and the foundation of the military first, And the war articles first, if your whole freedom of speech doesn't support all that as a whole, you're not going to single out the same people. This is what they're doing. They're taking a single thing from the same people. That's how stupid a liberal is. They want to take the freedom of expression written by the same people. Why would you even want to support that? It's written by the same people. So that's being what? You're building a bear. That's a build-a-bear society. You want to take that one thing because you didn't fight for it. That was fought and established for back here. So liberals would be better off to say, I don't support any of this, and say that you want to rewrite something new and then fight for it. But they're not willing to fight for it. So all of you patriots out there, you need to stand strong. A lot of this is still special operations. There's some riots that are special operations for pulling people in. It's baiting them and trapping them. Some of them. Not all of them. Some of it's real. All right, you got some idiots out there, no doubt. But it's still a military occupation by law. Continental government by law. All right, so some of you patriots need to stand tall out there. All right, you need to take the attitude what we're taking. Like President Trump said, you're going to spit in our face, you're going to get punched in yours. That's how that's going to happen. The Marine Corps, that's why it's all, hey, the Semper Fi, baby. When the Marine Corps show up, it's game over. All right, I've said this over and over. All it would take is 500 to 1,000, 2,500 Marine Corps in every city in this nation, and it's game over. They ain't playing around. They beat the hell out of each other 12 of their 14 weeks of basic training alone. All right, it's game over. And some of these people out there, what are they protesting? Like, they're not protesting, I know that, but just everybody hang with me. What are they protesting? They're mad because we're going in for unlawful migrants who have records, criminal records of trafficking, child trafficking especially. These people are taking up for that. Then they want to use the terms due process. Are you serious right now? These idiots didn't even come into our nation lawfully. And the ones who made it here, they didn't apply lawfully to stay here. So there's their two wrongs straight out the gate. Two wrongs don't what? Make a right. So these people are taken up for unlawful people. And you and I, who do what's right all day, every day, we're not supposed to get rewarded for that because they call that what? Being an adult, being a human being, right? So here we are, we do what's right all the time. Look at all of you who pay your premium all the time, but you've never had an accident, but you still pay your premium. So, you know, we can make a joke that insurance is a ripoff, but use it from the other standpoint. We do what's right all the time, right? We don't get prizes for that. Oh, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you are. But these people come here unlawfully, and we got these idiots out there waving Mexican flags but don't want to go back to Mexico. Make that make sense. You're in my nation waving another nation's flag, but you don't want to go back there? And you don't want to send people who are unlawful, who are criminals, who could kill your children, who could kill your wife or your spouse? You know what kind of freaking idiot you are? You know how stupid you are? You should be deported too. How did we get so stupid in this nation? Oh boy. They wouldn't want me to be commander-in-chief. They'd be gone. Or they'd be down in the El Salvador prison and there wouldn't be no chatter about it. There wouldn't be no news article about it. No one would know, and the key would be thrown away. Oh, sorry, lost the key. The only thing we can do is supply you with food and water for the rest of your life. Your cell won't even open. Probably should have thought about that. You probably should have known your little history before you went down there and tried to protest for a bunch of unlawful criminals. So see, you got to set the tone. You got to set the precedent. And see, what everybody's watching right now should have been this the whole time. When they added foreign and domestic, when they added the word foreign to our oath to the Constitution, listen up, libtards. When they added foreign to that, it didn't mean foreign going to Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Bosnia, Libya, etc. It didn't mean it like that. It meant foreigners who were trying to take our way of life. And guess what you are, libtards? If you're out there protesting, quote unquote, rioting for a bunch of unlawful migrants, criminals, you're a foreign agent as well. So you probably want to know the laws and orders, because that's what's going to happen to your ass if you get out there and you act like an idiot when you don't know what's going on. And please, military and law enforcement, a beanbag to the face or the balls to all of them will be so appropriate. All right. So, we the people, you got to know what that means. That's how dumb old Fawcett and their son look. Sitting there telling the military that we took an oath. We know we took an oath, you idiot. You've never taken it. And then to say suits, you're listening to a bunch of suits. I'm pretty sure you don't realize the foundation of our nation, because our founders created the Constitution. They created Congress. They created the suits. All right. Suits are not bad if they're doing the will of the people. See, so a lot of people out there, you just lump everybody in the same category. Not all suits are bad. It depends on the accountability, the responsibility, and then what are they doing with their position. All right. When we the people know exactly how our foundation was set up and how Congress are supposed to represent we the people, the real government, then we will know. You will know whenever your local representative or your state representative or your U.S. senator or U.S. representative is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. When you know the laws and the orders, it's real simple. All right, so presidential emergency action documents, you've heard me talk about them. So this is real simple. Presidential emergency action documents were established with a continuity government. They are a plan as a part of a continuity government. Established by Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, and 5-star general. All right, rare 5-star. So presidential emergency action documents. All right, when you have a code that's invoked, then you know that these are there. President Trump invoked continuity government December the 7th, 2020. All right. So example, 2 things. Let me make sure I put my notes here, because I was just thinking about it. So President Trump told everybody, March this year, he said, I've signed over 400 executive actions. Well, only 150 of those were on the Federal Register publicly. Where were the other 250? Presidential emergency action documents. They're draft classified, so you're not going to Google them. All right, but President Trump told you early on in 2016, if you support me, then I will earn your trust via the economy. All right, I will make your life, your everyday life, your average life. The average American only cares about the economy most of the time. And when I do that, then you should trust us with the military, because we will be doing what we're supposed to be doing here, but we will also be doing what we're doing here. So presidential emergency action documents are draft classified. You can't know what's in them. All right. But you can see all the evidence around there, and there are unique laws and orders set up. And President Trump invoked the continuity government on December the 7th, 2020. If there wasn't a continuity government, then Joe Biden, if he was really president and if he was real, then Joe Biden would have had the same power as every other president. So why would Joe Biden wait till January the 19th, 2025, the last full 24-hour day of presidency, to partially revoke the executive order from December the 7th, 2020? So quote unquote, he let an executive order with continuity government run from December the 7th, 2020 to January the 19th, 2025, just to partially revoke it, which means we're still in continuity government. So all the idiots out there that keep telling you in the comment box here and there on Twitter and some of the X, whatever, they'll say, oh, he's just prolonging this grifter. Why is there still a continuity government invoked partially? And it also shows priority. They didn't invoke it and forget about it. So why would the auto pen partially revoke it on the last 24-hour day of presidency? Which means it is still relevant. It's still in the hands of the people in control of this operation. And these are unique laws and orders, ladies and gentlemen. These aren't just your normal laws and orders. No, you don't normally want the whole military operating all the time. You only want them with invasion or rebellion of public safety, which is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2, the suspension clause. That's exactly what it quotes. And President Trump told you way back in 2019, 2020, we've been invaded. Our gravest threats are not abroad, they're within. Listen to the man you claim to support. It's that simple. So, why? Why would Joe let a continuity government run if there wasn't a continuity government? You can't revoke something that wasn't invoked already. It's that simple. You cannot revoke something that was not already invoked. So why is quote-unquote Joe partially revoking a continuity government, a continuity of operations, which Eisenhower established that have presidential emergency action documents attached, which means draft classified. But guess what it means? It means it's pre-planned. There's 4 ways that military pairs with federal. 4. Executive orders, national emergencies, proclamations, and treaties. Guess what the 4 components of a presidential emergency action document are? Executive orders, national emergencies, proclamations, and treaties. Oh, what a coincidence that is. But they're pre-drafted. They're pre-planned. What did President Trump tell you with Keith Kellogg in North Carolina a few months back? What did he tell you? I want to thank a general who's here with me. He's been with me before day one. He's been with me before all of this. All of what? What is this, President Trump? Define that. And explain to me, people out there, why Keith Kellogg, 3-star general, retired. Explain to me why the last national security strategy on the Department of Defense is from 2017. Where's quote-unquote Joe's from 2022? Why doesn't the Department of Defense, here we are, it's 2025, on the archive page, how come they can't put a 3-year-old publication on the archive page if Joe Biden was really president? How come the last national security strategy on the Department of Defense is from 2017? Guess who the author was? Keith Kellogg. How come the last White House military office that pulls up is Obama's? The White House military office, ladies and gentlemen, are the logistics of Air Force One and Marine One. Do you see President Trump flying around on Marine One? Yes, you do. So where's the White House military office for President Trump from 2017 to 2021? Why isn't there an archive page there? Why is the last one that pulls up Obama's? Because you're in a unique military operation that President Trump has validated over and over and over and over again. He tells you we're an occupied country. We will soon no longer be an occupied country. Occupied, occupied, occupied. White flag is surrendered. Capitulation. Puppet state. Puppet government. All those terms are not government terms. They are law of war manual terms. 2 of those, occupied country, which is an occupied territory, and puppet government, guess what chapter they're in? Military occupation. It's that simple. He tells you that we're running a defenseful military occupation on our own nation. Our gravest threats are not abroad. They're within. All right, so then, quote-unquote patriots. You look atrocious. Some of you look atrocious, not all of you. You look atrocious. A lot of blue checks out there. This should show you to separate the wheat from the chaff. All right? Now, you don't have to be a veteran to know what's going on. You ain't got to be fully decorated to know what's going on. You got to have a long DD-214 to know what's going on. But, again, it's all unique laws and orders that outline a military occupation, that outlines a military operation, that outlines a continuity of government. They all go together. Government and exile. It's all in special operations. Unconventional warfare. Guess why it's called unconventional? Because it's not supposed to be conventional. They don't want you to know about it until they want you to know about it. But you can if you listen to someone like me who knows the terminology. And it can show you the terminology. That's what separates me from everybody else. Because I can do it all in one sitting. I don't Hansel and Gretel you. I show you everything in one sitting and people still struggle with it because it's a lot of information. Now, this isn't, when I sound like I'm getting on people, I'm not. Only if it strikes a nerve with you. There's a lot of people on here who are patriots through and through. But they love it when I get down because you have to. You have to motivate some people. All right? So, let's look at this. Look at all the patriots. All right? I had 2 of them. two quote-unquote people who were following me on my personal Facebook. I still have a private Facebook or a personal Facebook. Oh, they had messaged me, keep up the great work, blah, blah, blah. I called them out. Because when President Trump puts up a post, all right, it doesn't matter if it's a repost or not. If I post something of you, all right, so I grew up an Alabama football fan, and I'm a Colorado State fan. All right, so our rivals will be Auburn, all right, and Wyoming or Colorado. So if I posted something on my page about the University of Colorado or University of Wyoming, or if I posted something about Auburn or Georgia on my page, and now let's have some fun, right? But why would I do that? That would mean I want you to see something from that group or that base. So a repost and a post, that whoever said that out there, atrocious. I won't use the word stupid because that's a whole different kind of description. But that's atrocious to have a blue badge and quote-unquote patriots who are trying to lead people. You can't lead people right now. This is a military operation. So that is where veterans do have a stronghold, because it is a military operation. You need to know that terminology. So when President Trump put up a post, and in the bottom down there, it said that Biden, quote-unquote, had been... And people saying, oh, I don't know if that's really President Trump. Oh, how do we know that's really him? And oh, well, he's just trolling the Democrats. And oh, no, he's not. This is not a game. It's a military operation. By laws and orders, it's an operation. Stop with all of the propaganda and the drama and the ignorance. If you knew what's in laws and orders that's already given me #1 bestsellers by you, the people, we, the people, it's already there. So all these people that are showing you out there that you still support, unfollow them. Hurt them where it hurt. Don't get on there and comment, because comments make things more visible. Unfollow these idiots. They're misleading thousands of Americans, even if it's 100, even if it's 10. They're misleading people when there's already a blueprint in place by the man they claim to support. Lord God, help me, Jesus. President Trump gives everybody a very, 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 very soft disclosure. And then guess what? The people who claim to support him, oh, I don't know if that's really him, and blah, blah, blah. You all want justice, but when they start giving the soft disclosure to set the stage, you do what? You look atrocious. And why it matters is because the people out there, the liberals, they think you're all wishy-washy. They think you don't know what the heck's going on. That's why you got to be strong and stand strong and have a stronghold. That's why it matters. Because you're looking atrocious, especially the people who claim to be leaders and claim they're a platform. You're looking atrocious to people like me. Because at the end of the day, military is about life and death. There are military members out there busting their tail for you. Whether they know what the hell is going on or not doesn't matter. When you claim to be a leader and you got a platform and you want to say something that's already been proven, already in military laws and orders, paired with federal, you are nothing but a disgrace to every man and woman, past and present, who have taken the ultimate sacrifice and or still serving. You're a disgrace. You're not a leader. You don't know anything about the man you claim to support. So don't look like that. If you don't want to be called out, don't look like that. Everything's already been proven. And last I checked, these people have never been to Mar-a-Lago. So, Elon and President Trump. Another topic that people look atrocious with. When you understand what President Trump's working with, laws and orders, PEDS, you have a full confirmation there's a continuity of government. When you have a full confirmation, unequivocal proof that there's a COG, then that means you already have unequivocal proof that there's presidential emergency action documents. And you have visuals of the National Guard operating daily out of their states, the reserve components. You have visuals of this. All right? So when you have visuals of that, which I'm going to type here real fast, New York, A PED is pre-planned. Everything that President Trump signed is pre-planned. So when you know that the overall operation is pre-planned, then that should tell you that everything in that dash, 45, the number 45, 2017 to 2021, 2021 to 2025, the dash, and then 2025 to present day has all been planned. None of this is real-time operations when it comes to those things. Elon used as a pawn. Not the same dude. If you can't look at these people and see the difference, you're already in trouble. If you think that's a conspiracy theory, it's all special operations, you're already in trouble. Straight out the gate. Biden wasn't the same dude. Completely different. They flipped Zuckerberg. They flipped Bezos. They flipped Tim Cook. They flipped all these dudes. All right, they flipped them. All three of them donated to the inauguration of President Trump. You got to follow this daily. Every bit of it's pre-planned. You already have evidence of PEDS and COG. So when you have evidence of that in lawful orders, then everything in that is pre-planned. And let me show you an example of that. The AP. This week, President Trump put up a post where the appeals court ruled that they can keep the ban on the Associated Press from going to Mar-a-Lago, the White House, and anywhere else. They ruled they can keep the ban. If they're ruling they can keep a ban, that means the ban was already established on the Associated Press. That's why terminology and listening and paying attention to details matter. All right, the appeals court ruled that President Trump can keep a ban, B-A-N, on the Associated Press. Guess what's in my documents from way back, long before the world even knew about me, the people who do. 47 U.S. Code, Section 606. It's titled War Powers of the President. The President can control radio, TV, and internet broadcasts. It's called the transmission carrier. Go Google it. Type in, are the mainstream media a transmission carrier? Boom, AI. Yes, they are. This is how simple that is. You don't even have to be an expert. All you got to do is read a little bit and study it. But what are people still doing? Listening to mainstream media and going over here and running over here and drama and propaganda and surface level this and blah, 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 a bunch of flapping gums and flapping mouths who don't know anything. So that's why people's emotions get out of control, because you're following stuff that are meant to trigger you. They're meant to ruffle your feathers. You want to know what's going on? Block all that out. Go to laws and orders, what President Trump's working with. All right. Then, so you have the ignorant liberals out there yelling, don't follow unlawful orders. They're all lawful. All right. So this is where veterans out there, this is where you got to get called up, the veterans. All right. There's some. If you hear anybody out there saying that I attack veterans, they're wrong. I motivate veterans. If you have a veteran out there saying they're against President Trump, there's a Marine Corps veteran that's going viral right now out in California that's saying he's a Marine Corps and his family are immigrants and he don't support this. He's an idiot. All right. He don't know any of the laws and the orders of which he served under. Now it counts. So now it's nut cutting time. Now we're going to see what kind of people, what kind of veterans we have. All right. If you don't know the laws and orders and the foundation of which the whole premise of why we're having this conversation, why we're here today, came from the revolutionary time period and the founders and their mindsets and their ideologies, if you don't know all of that and if you don't understand how your rights work and operate by that foundation of which we're here, all right, then you need to just say, I don't like any of it. And you and whoever your cronies are out there, y'all need to get together and write you something up and then present it, all right, and then be willing to fight for it if we don't like it. All right, so that's how that works. Until then, you're stuck with all of us who know how the foundation was set up and fought for the Revolutionary War, then the military, all right, and then war articles, then the Declaration, then the articles, and then your Constitution. Then came your Bill of Rights way after that. All right. So the Bill of Rights were actually written as a second constitution. A lot of people don't know that. All right, and they were adopted in because they were like, well, these are more individual rights. They're not really a premise and a framework for a broad framework. All right, a lot of people don't know that. All right, so when you hear people out there saying it's unlawful orders, no, they're not. They're most certainly lawful. All right, and so when you hear veterans, it's nut cutting time. All right, the few of you who are resisting on me, if you're still listening to me, it's nut cutting time. Now you have a new law put into place, a new order put into place by President Trump when he invoked Title 10, Section 12406. That's a lawful order. All right. Title 10, we all raised our right hand to Title 10, Section 502. So why didn't you have a problem with it then when you raised your right hand? Same Title 10, same military law, same presidential authority. Why didn't you have a problem then? So see, all these people are looking atrocious right now, especially these quote-unquote veterans. You got to be careful with the terminology and the title. All right, just because they got the title don't mean that they know exactly why they served. It don't mean that they know the laws and orders. It doesn't mean they support that. There's no veterans should be out there caught up in all of this with unlawful migrants, all right, who have criminal records. If there's a guy out there claiming he's Marine Corps and he's out there standing up saying that, no, he could be anybody. So be careful with technology as well. Just because he wears a little ball cap that says that doesn't mean anything. All right, doesn't. So you got to be careful, but you don't even have to be a veteran to know what's going on. So that right now there's this. Now I agree that there should be more veterans standing up to the plate, but a lot of veterans, they don't like dumb Americans either. I know a lot of veterans who say this all the time. Americans are so dumb and they don't want to listen to the very people who know. But this is a time period where it does matter. And every veteran out there, now you have a line in the sand. Those of you who are resistant towards me, it wasn't a lot of you, but those of you who were, you got some standing up to do now. Because now you have a new order in place. It's most certainly lawful. All right. And every one of us veterans, living and deceased, raised our right hand to the same Title 10. So now you have to figure out, where do you stand? All right. It's most certainly lawful. All right, and just because people have been here don't mean they should stay here. If they came here unlawfully, you can't justify that. We have to set a precedent. We have to set the tone. We have to take our country back the correct way. And if you want to be here, you can come here the correct way. There's too many people here who were migrants who did it lawfully, so you're taking away from what they did. They did everything the right way, so how is it that others can come here unlawfully? So if you're a veteran and you're standing out there, or if you're a veteran and you're against President Trump, you don't know anything about the laws and orders which you served under. Joint Publication 3-57 specifically says, no, we typically don't want the Department of Defense regular forces, Marine Corps, Army, etc., the regular, in with civilian operations. Unless what? All right, dumbass Fawcett, or whoever you were out there, whatever your last name is, here you go. Unless what? The Constitution or Congress deems so. Well, guess where Congress deems so, you morons? Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. And you remember a certain person out there coming after me not long ago with a big rhino who President Trump gave a nickname to, calling him Sloppy? All right? Yeah, that dude, all right, who let a guy come into the White House and write all these fraudulent books on President Trump. Why do you Republicans and conservatives and patriots still support all these people who were not loyal to President Trump? And these people, one of his little minions comes, oh, Chapter 33 is not the War Powers Act. Go to the .gov page. .gov. Chapter 33 of Title 50 is the War Powers Act. And you have idiots out there claiming to be a President Trump supporter. That's not controlled opposition. That's not operational, ladies and gentlemen. That is called a dumb ass. That's what that's called. A dumbass. An ignorant dumbass. All right, that's someone who wants to be a face and a name, and they want to make money with your emotions and propaganda. That's what that is. All right. So now it really matters, because the lawful order in place is Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, which I've been talking about this whole time. Over and over. You've heard it like a broken record. Then all the orders that follow that as prescribed in the clause of Section 1550. 1550 was not in the War Powers Act until Congress and President Trump put it there December the 20th, 2019. And in there it says in the first 180 days after December the 20th, 2019, and every 180 days thereafter, the president is to report to the defense committees the use of regular and irregular forces. Well, irregular forces brings in your special operations, your clandestine operations, your covert operations, your unconventional warfare, your guerrilla warfare. That's what irregular means. And then your regular military. So there's your Marine Corps right there, you dumbass, Fawcett, Russell, whatever your freaking name is. You libtards are so stupid, it's not even funny. You're dumber than a box of turtle hair. It's just as simple as that. You don't know anything about lawful orders. They're all lawful. And if they weren't, then why did Congress leave it there since 1973? And Congress was the one in 73 who, after 1951, put unlawful term limits on the president, because nowhere in the Constitution does it say anything about the Congress putting term limits on the president. Nowhere. Nowhere in there does it show that. All right, so you need to go read the Constitution. So then in 1973, Congress tried to put limitations. Go look it up, section 1541, I believe it is. But go look up letter C of Title 50, Chapter 33 of the War Powers Act. The president is to declare a national emergency to be able to use the military. Well, guess what? Congress put that there. Every president has abused that, per se. You can make a case. There may not be. They may not abuse it. We'll find out. We'll see if Carter did. We'll see if Bush did. We'll see. But there's an executive order with a national emergency still open from 1979. They have continued it every 2 years. It's with Iran. 1979, Jimmy Carter. All right. So every president's done it. But what did they do? They didn't take care of that emergency. They passed it down. That's not what they're supposed to do. There was an idiot out there saying that 2 years ago, a moron, all right, saying that that's just what presidents do. Well, what are you saying now, libtard, right? Oh, Biden, quote unquote, continued 8 executive orders with 8 national emergencies by President Trump that are all deporting. That is the orders that's deporting the unlawful migrants. So is that what presidents just do? Because if they're saying that President Trump is a threat to democracy and he's a violation of the Constitution and he's a dictator, then why did Biden leave all of these open, continue them, and just hand them back to President Trump with a big old red bow on January the 20th, 2025 and say, here you go, we didn't terminate any of your executive orders that's going to deport all the illegal migrants. But by the way, we're going to call you a dictator and all these other things. So just play along. You know, we're going to do all. That's how stupid this is. This is how easy, depending on who you are, and how stupid it is, depending on who you are. And it's stupid in a good way. Stupid easy. So when you look at that, it solves everything. All those executive orders that, quote unquote, Biden continued, which had an automatic 2-year termination in there. Oh, but guess what that is? That's Title 50, Chapter 34, National Emergencies. Oh, dang, under the same War and National Defense codification, you have the national emergencies, and it says that they terminate in 2 years if they're not what? Continued. So they automatically terminate if they're not continued. You know what continued requires? Pen, paper, president. So why did, quote unquote, Joe continue 8 executive orders with 8 national emergencies that are taking back the Panama Canal, deporting illegal migrants, child trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking, froze all the assets of all of those who are illegally funding the Chinese Communist military, the PRC, all these things that they said President Trump is a threat over and a dictator over, and old Joe continued all those, and they portrayed to you, the people, that Joe had Democrat control of House and Senate from 2021 to 2023, but he couldn't terminate anything. He never terminated a tariff. How come no judge ever tried to block a tariff from 2021 to 2025? And how come Congress gave the president the authority over tariffs, and President Trump put the tariffs in place in 2018, but Joe did not terminate a single tariff from 2021 to 2025? Even though it's presidential authority, he wouldn't need House or Senate, but he did have control of the House and the Senate portrayed to you. So how come all these things that they're calling President Trump a threat and a dictator and all these other things over, how come they never terminated them? It's almost as if there was a military occupation and a military government and a continuity government. It's almost as if there wasn't a president from 2021 to 25. I wonder why President Trump put that dash on his ball cap now. So see, all of you veterans out there that were resistant to me, now you have a line in the sand. Now you're really going to look stupid to your friends and family if you don't stand on the right side of the line. Now you have to validate me because there's a Title 10 Section 12406 order put into place that called up the National Guard to a federalization. All right, that's what's going on in California. That's a presidential call up. So see, but if you believe in one Title 10, now you got to do what? You got to go back to Executive Order 13912 that federalized 1 million reserve components that's still open, not revoked by Joe Biden. And the reserves have been active every single freaking day since that order's put in place. New York also proves it. New York, 2,800 National Guard on subway duty in 2022 and 2023. All right, where's the Title 10 order? Where's it at? It's not there except for President Trump from 2020. Also, New York State Senate, March the 11th, 2025, wrote President Trump a letter requesting federalization of the reserve components to active duty. All right, there's no Title 10 order from March the 11th to present day on the newyork.gov. Where is that order, veterans? You resistant veterans, you all DD 214, no laws and orders, all DD 214, all your service, not for the people. Where is that order? The only order in place that federalizes the New York National Guard is Executive Order 13912 from March 27, 2020. Has nothing to do with how old it is. It's not been revoked. It's not been rescinded. Stop looking atrocious out there. I'm trying to help you from looking stupid to your friends and family, because the more this is unveiled, and when President Trump and all this wraps up, and there's going to be big celebrations and everything, you're going to look stupid, and your service is going to look like it was null and void because you didn't even know the very laws and orders of which you served under or what you're supposed to. I'm trying to help you out. So when you come in the comment box and when you take shots at me out there, I'm going to not only defend myself, but I'm also trying to say, hey, I'm screenshotting you. You're going to be in a walk of shame. I'm going to remind people, and I'm going to blast you out there and say, this is prime example. This is what it looks like. One of those out there, one of those from a couple years ago, got on their Facebook that we don't have education in our school systems. Yet he's telling me that I'm a disgrace to veterans because I know laws and orders of what President Trump's working with. This is how stupid Americans are. You can't say it any other way. Oh, our schools are not educating our kids. And you're in arms with me for educating people on laws and orders that are most definitely in place. The whole reason I have #1 bestsellers is because the people made them #1 bestsellers. I didn't do that. People did that. I am unpublished, no publisher, independent, nothing. That's me. I wrote this straight off the top right here of just simply studying laws and orders put into place that make this unique operation. And it's all validated. President Trump validated. But I'm 2 and 3 years ahead of a lot of things. It's already been printed way back here. So veterans, I love you. But this is a veteran to a veteran. This is a different kind of language. All right? Not knocking what you did in service. Ain't no one talking about what you did. Where you went. How you did it. You could even been the most dumbest shitbag on the planet that didn't really do anything, but you come home and you're this hero to all your friends and family just because you served. No one's going to know. That ain't what this is about. Right now in this time in history is when you need to stand up. If your DD 214 is as long as you say it is, you don't want to look atrocious right now. This is most certainly going on in laws and orders. They're all lawful orders. Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. Then, in the first 180 days, Executive Order 13912, Executive Order 13919. Then the continuity of government was in the second 180 days. All right? Executive Order 13961. December the 7th. December the 10th, Executive Order 13963 was the last, listen, it's the last and most recent order of succession within the Department of Defense. December the 10th, 2020 is the most recent and last order of succession within the Department of Defense. You know that every other president has had an order of succession within the Department of Defense except for Joe Biden? Oh boy. Looking atrocious out there, some folks. And it's all in public laws and orders, and it's all outlined, and that's why the American people love the people who follow me, because it's all there. I don't have a fancy background. Show you the .gov, .mil sites. You don't see all these millions of sponsors on my page. You don't see me advertise. All I'll say is, look, if you want to buy a book, you can buy it. But if you can't afford a book, guess where all the information is? Free on all of my pages. You just have to piece it together. It's all there. The books put it in the chronological order. All the information still on my pages. All right. Now, Flynn. All right, people get mad at me about General Flynn. General Flynn blocked me. I never have added him one time. Ever. Ever. But let me show you. A lot of people run out there and they take these terms like controlled opposition and they run with it. And they don't even know what it means. Or they're a bot. Or they're this. Or they're getting paid. Or there's some of those. Sure. No doubt. But what you witnessed this week was President Trump was endorsing someone in New Jersey. All right. And then Flynn, right, even though I know he's been replaced, good, bad, or indifferent, we're not going to go that deep today. All right, but Flynn is endorsing the guy who's running against President Trump. And what did President Trump tell you? It said, there are people out there still playing election games saying I endorsed someone I did not endorse. That should tell you all you need to know right there. All right. So there's a lot of people who were all President Trump in their mouth, but not President Trump where it mattered. And a lot of people are still getting caught up in names and titles and what you thought of somebody. Now, it could still play out that they were used as a pawn and they said, look, you spied me way back here. We're going to trash you a little bit here and do this and use you a little bit. And then they still come out to be someone that's on the team, per se, right? It's like when a team member, if you've ever played a team sport, you've had people get in trouble. And the coach, who is a good coach, they'll discipline them. But they didn't kick them off the team. But, hey, you're going to do this, 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 and this. Your team members are going to know about it, and you might be humiliated. But if you really want to stay on this team, you'll complete all these things that I ask you to do to stay on this team. All right? So, there's someone who wrote into me. They said, oh, you just lost all credibility because you went after Flynn and I served under him, blah, blah, blah. He could have been a good lieutenant. He could have been a good captain. He could have been a good major. He could have been a good lieutenant colonel. He could have been a good colonel. All right. But you got to stay open out there. All right. I don't talk about him as much for one reason. One, there's 4,600 retired generals. All right, and President Trump has more than 200 generals supporting him, and there's more than one general. And a lot of people get caught up. What I'm trying to do is help you break away from that. Good, bad, or indifferent. All right, but guess what I got this week? I got an email. All right, and I'm not going to say who it is. All right, not yet. I'm going to ask them for permission to block their name out. I know a lot of colonels. A lot of colonels. All right, I introduced a new colonel on the show that you recently saw that I met not long ago. Retired lieutenant colonel from the Army. All right, has a lot of history. All right, Vietnam veteran. All right, but I got an email. This is cool because this person can text me all day long. They email first, which means professional. Email, which timestamp. Also, everybody who knows emails, they always tell people, don't put it in an email because an email can always be tracked. Now, a phone can too, but email means professional time check. Get an email. Great content, brother. Keep up the great work. Served side by side, colonel and colonel with Flynn. That is not the real Flynn. Been trying to tell people the same thing too. All right. Now, good, bad, or indifferent. You can still like certain people out there. You can do whatever you want to do. I can't make you stop. I'm not trying to. My role is not to persuade you and coerce you to do anything. My role as a retired veteran, but also with what I've been doing with my credentials as well that I have, my role is to show you the laws and the orders and the operation in place, because it's a shell. There's no way every single person can know every intricate little detail. A lot of people fall off wagons like that. You think if someone can't answer a question, oh, well, if they can't answer that, they can't know. No, there's a lot of us who are in lanes, and we've been given a lane to work in and to stay in and keep doing what we're doing. All right? And so it makes you more honest of a person when you say, I don't know, and I can get that answer, or I don't know, and I can guide you to someone who does. It makes you more honest. All right, a lot of you have forgotten that. And I don't know who you are out there, but I'm saying whoever hears this, apply that. If it hits a nerve, then it's got to hit a nerve. All right, so apply that. But again, some of us are in lanes and doing what we're supposed to be doing. At any time, that's why I tell veterans, at any time, veterans, you can be recruited back in. All right, and not necessarily back in, meaning not back in uniform, but you can be recruited along the way. You could be secret military. You could be a lot of things because of, once again, if you're doing what's right, you're a good person, you know your oath, you keep your oath, you know what's going on lawfully, you can be recruited at any time. All right, so if you really want to be a part of humanity, you want to be a part of this bigger picture operation, then keep your mouth shut, read and study what's going on, and or if you already know what's going on, then, hey, someone may reach out to you. You never know. All right, there's a lot of people out there. That's what happened to me. All right, so just stay the course. All right, and do what's right, but know the foundation of what you're supposed to stand on. It's that simple. All right, so you can be recruited at any time. So little things like that. So I'm again, but why would I be blocked straight out the gate? All right, and so now I can make a case why a general could be doing certain things, and that's fine, because so much attention was brought on me and him, and people were trying to make this picture that it wasn't. All right, people try to pin us together, mainly podcasters, but a lot of people out there. So what I try to tell people is, look, you need to know the laws and the orders of what President Trump's working with. It more than clearly outlines a defined operation, more than clearly. The only ones that don't define it too are the ones who are not reading, studying, and comprehending. The ones who are out there saying this is all hogwash and they're just keeping this going. No, it's not. The continuity of government executive order alone proves it. Why would Joe keep an executive order in place if he had power, and even if the auto pen, even if you believe in all that, even though it's not, when history tells the tale, it's going to outline everything that I've outlined. I'll be standing when this is all said and done. All right, because it's an operation. So all this stuff, soft disclosure getting there. But if you thought Obama was behind the scenes, all right, Obama would abolish everything that President Trump. You got to apply that. If President Trump is a threat to democracy, which we're not a democracy, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, we're a republic. All right, so anyone who uses the term democracy, we're not a democracy. We're a republic. We're a constitutional republic. Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution. This Constitution that these people try to quote from, they don't even see Article 4, Section 4. That is how atrocious they are, but it's also how awesome they're showing everybody who's willing to read, study, comprehend. We're in control. Military's in control. We're in control. So nothing's going back to the old. So if you're getting caught up with the hiccups, you're not awake yet. All right, because what I have and the blueprint I have can more than give you solace, peace, and calm and smartassery, but also smiles and chuckles and giggles and all the other stuff. So it's like, if someone asked me one time if I could go back, would I go back and take back what I said? No, because I know what I know. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you read it, you can't unread it. And once you know it, you can't unknow it. So it's there. All right, so it's the people who have initiative. The people who want to know need to get plugged in. All right, but it's all there. All right, so you got to stop listening to rhinos who were never Trumpers to begin with. Stop listening to them. Unfollow them. When you comment on the comment box, you got to know how the internet works. When you comment on their stuff, it makes it more visible. When you like their stuff, when you share the stuff, stop doing that. When President Trump gives someone a nickname, stop following him. He's showing you who's unloyal to him. President Trump is all about loyalty. All right, and that's a term that's been butchered, misconstrued, you name it. Loyalty, respect, all these words. They're actions. All right, they're not words. All right, actions. They're also to be reciprocal. So when someone shows you respect, it should be what? Given back. All right, but only until it's what? Displayed to you. All right, loyalty is also displayed, but these also take what? Relationships and years to develop. All right, so right now it sounds like topsy-turvy a little bit. It's not. It's only topsy-turvy if you don't know the foundation of what's been set up. The military occupation doesn't mean to get lazy and they say, oh, oof, military's in control, President Trump's back in. No, you've got to fight now with the foundation. You have to show people that you know the foundation. This is what our founders set up. The whole reason you and I are sitting right here talking is because what our founders set up. This is it. And there's more than enough validation daily. I mean, I could sit here and rattle off all the validities. The New York National Guard, the Texas border, President Trump with the governor of Texas, and the Adjutant General of Texas. Adjutant General, what does it say? Adjutant General reports to the whom? Governor, unless the National Guard are federalized by whom? The president. So why wasn't Joe Biden the one standing there with the governor of Texas and the Adjutant General? That would have been a breach of national security if Joe Biden was a sitting president. I also shared the video today again, way back from 2023, where they were interviewing quote-unquote Joe. He said, oh, the wall thing. The wall thing? All right. And then also about the funding. All right. If there's an invasion or a rebellion in public safety, all the president has to do is get on the phone and say, shut the border down. All a bill does is fund something that needs to be built or someone that needs to be paid. So he didn't need a bill for that, all right, if he was real. The other thing was he mentioned about being vetoed. You know who has the full veto power? President. All right, and there's Biden saying something about, well, I don't know if it's been vetoed or not. Now, you're going to have your average rhino out there. You're going to have your average Republican who don't know the laws and orders say, well, it was the auto pen and he wasn't in control and he didn't know where he was. No. When you know what a presidential emergency action document does, it expands the powers of the president. It's pre-planned. It's all pre-executive orders, pre-national emergencies, pre-proclamations, pre-treaties, meaning they're already planned. And then a continuity of government, all right, and there's a continuity of government executive order there. When you know that, then that paints your whole military occupation. That paints your military operation. But it don't mean to get soft and get lazy and all these other things. All right, now one other thing that I've got to address because my management wanted me to do it, and they were kind of like going, well, why is this and why that? So Palantir, all right, so you have this group out there, right, and everybody got upset about, oh, you know, and I'm going to show how you got to trust President Trump and laws and orders. All right, so there's a group out there that President Trump, they were talking about AI, right, and they were talking about taking everybody's data, all right, and consolidating it into one location versus multiple agencies. That tells you right out the gate already. See, they use play on words with the media out there. All right, one, most people never heard of this. So that, you know, the media is all under a controlled opposition in another way. All right, right now it looks more controlled opposition because if you read some media articles, they read as if they're against what's going on. No, most of the people have never even heard of any of this topic, any of this verbiage, any of this language. They haven't even heard of some of this stuff. All right, so you got to get people's attention. So the ones who are still reacting, whether it be negative, pessimistic, or whatever, angry, bitter, whatever, frustrated, confused, well, it shows you're not where you need to be with the laws and orders. All right. You can't say President Trump was right about everything and turn around the next day and question him. Because he's been right about everything. The reason he's right is because it's a military operation. It's a military occupation. He couldn't have done this as a regular president. If that was the case, then we could revolt on people who are still living, per se, if they were. You know, if Reagan was still living, if some of those people were still living, we could revolt on them and say, how come you never could do this? How come it didn't look like this? How come all the liberals weren't losing their minds every day like they should be because they don't know anything about our history? So you got to trust President Trump. The way you trust him is to know the laws and orders. That's why liberals look atrocious, because they don't know laws and orders. They don't appreciate laws and orders. They don't appreciate the military. They don't love our military. They don't know anything about the nation in which they live in. They love our milk and honey, but they preach about another way of living. Merle Haggard song, The Fighting Side of Me. Yeah, you're walking on the fighting side of me. That song, the lyrics in there. Old lyrics. It's not a new song. This is way back in the 70s. It says, they love our milk and honey, but they preach about some other way of living. Perfect. That's what liberals do. So if you trust President Trump, the way you trust him is lawfully. How is it that you go to rallies and you hear people, when they say, we're a nation of laws and orders, yeah, yeah, and people are cheering, but you don't want to know the laws and orders of what he's working with? That don't even make sense at all. I mean, I don't even know what to describe with that. I don't even know the word to describe that. All right, so we're draining the swamp. Drain that swamp. How do you think he's draining it? Like, how can you chant that but don't want to know the laws and orders of which he'd have to do it lawfully? Because if he didn't do it lawfully, guess what it would do? It would look like a dictatorship. It would look like a military coup. It would look like certain things. Now, some people would be okay with that, but half the nation wouldn't. So how do you exonerate President Trump? The only way he can be exonerated, he said, I will be exonerated. How do you exonerate him? It's not for me. I don't need him exonerated. You don't need him. Most of my patriot followers here don't need him exonerated because you follow and support him. So the exoneration are for all the people who did what? Think they hate him and they're cussing him and ridiculing him and mocking him and throwing rocks at law enforcement and military. Those are the people that need him exonerated. Those are the people that they're going to show, hey, you want to know how stupid you look? You want to know how ignorant you look? This is what's been going on. Don't think for a second there's not going to be some revelation out there. Don't think for a second. That's how you exonerate the man. That's how you clear his record with all the people who think they hate him, that think they loathe him. All those people are the ones that need him exonerated, not me and you. So you got to think about that. And you don't think for a second that President Trump came out of a billionaire lifestyle, what he lives every day, to not be exonerated in the end. It's not going to fade off into the sunset and, oh, we changed all these laws and orders and we set a new precedent. No, there's going to be a revelation. So you patriots need to hang on, and you don't need to look as atrocious as the Rhino Republicans, the Never Trumpers, and especially the liberals out there. All right, so Palantir, all right, getting into that. It's saying that they're telling you straight out the gate. So people who got upset, they're telling you that they're consolidating the names from a bunch of agencies into one. So if you're getting mad, you can't read and you can't comprehend what you read. Because if you got mad, they're already telling you, we already have your information. So the people who got mad, oh, they're going to have our information. They're telling you that your information is already with a few agencies and they're consolidating it from a few to one. And then President Trump signed an executive order. People who don't read. President Trump signed an executive order last week that says that AI will have a 10-year pause on it, a hold from states being able to use it. So the other night I was on with the colonels, all special operations, and guess what was asked? What's the greatest threat you see moving into the future that we need to be aware of? Every single one of them said AI, but they said this. Said, look, AI is going to be good when it's good. It can be bad when it's bad if we lose control of it. Everything that is created can be created for good as long as we have what? Accountability, responsibility, transparency, and honesty, and we have quality assurance that shows when someone does something they're not supposed to do with something, abuses their power, or does something, then you have what? A punishment for that. A catch for that, going, oh, you shouldn't have done that, and whatever it is. Then you punish it. So AI can be good. Now, I'm not a fan of a lot of technology anyway, just because, one, I'm not good with technology, but that's just me. But, again, if we have control of something, if we're the good guys, guerrilla warfare is the same way. Guerrilla warfare can be applied with good, and it can be applied with the bad enemies. All right, everybody can use it, so you have to have skilled people who can identify that, which is what I do. This is why part 2 of my book, it's starting to pick up even more, but I go into heavy special operations and how you think outside the box, but also JFK. JFK is the one in the 2023 Renaissance publication, Special Operations Command. They put the full page down there of what President John F. Kennedy said years ago. about guerrilla warfare, that this is where we need to move into the future, specialized warfare, unconventional warfare. All right, but we need to be in control of it. All right, and when we're in control of it, then everything will be good because we won't be using it against people. We will use it if we have to in the defense mode. All right, President Trump acknowledged this recently. That's why veterans can't be getting mad at me. President Trump said this specifically. He said, all these wars, and he said specifically, he had just nominated someone. He said, this guy, he probably would be a good offensive guy, but he's a great defensive guy. That's taking a shot at all your career politicians who's already hammered. And he said, we're going to remove and get rid of defense contracts, and we're also going to eliminate what? Lobbyists. Because all they do is make excuses to keep us in foreign wars. All these foreign wars, our men and women, when you raise your right hand, I'm not knocking your call to service, men and women, but especially those who have been resistant, the few of you out there, you veterans that have been resistant, not knocking your call to service. We have to address why were we in these nations that were not a threat to us whatsoever. They weren't threatening our way of life whatsoever. And the nations who were building up, who wanted to threaten our way of life, Iran specifically, they were let go. A national emergency open since 79 and no one was doing anything with Iran this whole time, and they're the ones chanting death to Israel and death to America, death to death. They're the ones building up nuclear power and nuclear facilities. So we let all those nations go, and we stage bullcrap with Afghanistan and Iraq. 9/11. President Trump's already got it in a Supreme Court docket 23-939. Go look it up. Go down to March the 19th, 2024. It's already there. 3 amici curiae. All right, it's already going to open a massive can of worms. It's already there, already on the docket waiting. So see, if you go read and study what's all on the SupremeCourt.gov, Donald J. Trump versus United States, you talking about justice coming. You want to talk about a real storm coming? You want to talk about justice? All you people out there keep whining and complaining about justice. You got to appreciate what we're going through first. That's why President Trump said we're going to win so much you're going to get tired of winning. You can't even appreciate the soft disclosures to get to the wins. Some of you who are losing, you're getting the world's falling on you. Stop. Get a good attitude about you. Be a warrior. Have this attitude. You know, all the naysayers out there, let them be naysayers. Let them be pessimistic. They don't know. When you know and you read, you can't unsee, you can't unread, and you can't unknow once you know what President Trump has in place. And then all the Supreme Court dockets that he has waiting that hasn't even been heard. It's phenomenal what's in place. But you got to read, you got to study, you got to comprehend the language of what they're going to do. So this Palantir, they've been working with the U.S. Army. They've been working with ICE. Have you not seen what President Trump's been doing with the Army and ICE? So why would people be up in arms about, he put on lock, we're going to get control of AI, we're going to be in control of it, and we're going to make sure our enemy doesn't get it. That's what he's telling you. And then it said what? It said the IRS and Social Security. Well, Social Security is a hot topic right now because most people who follow me are you're 50 to 75 years old on Facebook. All right. I don't know about Instagram and all the other pages, but IRS, President Trump's already dealt with the IRS. He's already said no tax on tips and no tax on this and that. There's no such thing as a tip tax. That's income tax, ladies and gentlemen. When you make a tip, that goes in your pocket for income. All right, so that's going into that. He calls them the External Revenue Service. He already has them doing something completely different. So let's dwindle down to Social Security. All right, Social Security in 1968. I have a friend that I talk about, special operations. All right, I don't use his name because he don't want his name being used. All right, but he gave me permission because I said, look, I put credit where it's due. I have a paper that I wrote in 2019 at Colorado State University. All right, it's called Unsustainable Sustainability. And I was taken up for the tariffs in there. But then I pulled in all these other things, and I pulled in the 3 fundamental things that changed America. One of those was 3 of them were this special operator. All right. The Unified Budget Act, 1968. We left the gold standard. What has President Trump said? We're going back to a gold-backed digital currency. Not to be confused with the central bank. They've decentralized everything. That shows you that they've drained the swamp. That shows you that they've taken control of the global alliance alone right there. So it shows you, if you'll know all those things, the Unified Budget Act, all right, in 1971, they had what they call the Nixon shocks, 71 and 72. That's when Congress made the dollar as valuable or invaluable as they wanted it. That means inflation, deflation, That's when Congress, the incompetent Congress that President Trump talks about. But guess what happened? In the New Deal of Roosevelt, and President Trump's also taking a shot at that, he said, my deal is going to be way greater than ever the New Deal ever was. Because guess what happened with the New Deal? They put all these programs in place. Social Security being one of them. My grandparents, your parents, my parents, so both mine, my grandparents and grandparents paid into it. So you have this pot of money that all these people have paid into. All right, so how are you mad and pissed with President Trump for saying that we're using a system that's going to consolidate the information of people? All right, so you have a choice. Here's this pot of money that my grandparents and your parents and my parents and maybe you yourself paid into. Here's this pot of money. All right, it's there. The money's there. Where is it? Do you have control of it? No, you don't. You don't have any control of that now. You're hoping that that's going to be there and it's going to pay out to you. By whom? Well, Social Security was going to be hijacked the whole time with the swamp because they had no intentions of doing that. That's why they made it off budget in 68 and 91. You can go read about these off budgets and what they were doing with them. They were consolidating all these different funds together when you really do the digging. All right. So the incompetent Congress or President Trump, that really tests your loyalty to President Trump. Because if you say the man was right about everything, then you got to know that he has full control of everything. All right. Not just him, but also all these people where he was standing there in October 2017. He said, look at all these people in this room. The greatest military minds are in here. And he said, there's a storm coming. You can't say all of these terms. Drain the swamp. The best is yet to come. There's a storm coming. Trump was right about everything. You can't say any of that unless you believe in all of that. So if you believe in all of that, then when the man tells you that, hey, it's not all the three-letter agencies, it's not all the people in them, it's the senior level leadership who weaponize it. It's the people. Organizations don't corrupt organizations. People do. All right. President Trump started hammering those. He's cleaned all that out. If you're following laws and orders, it's all there. If you know what presidential emergency action documents are, if you know what a continuity of government is, and then you know that the appeals court said, oh, you can keep a ban on the Associated Press. The Associated Press has not been reporting on any of this, but you can keep a ban, which means the ban was already put on them. Why didn't you know about the ban already? So if he can keep a ban, the ban was already there. That right there is 47 U.S. Code 606, which is war powers of the president, which is used during a time of war. We're not in a usual war. We're in an unconventional war, as outlined with special operations. President Trump told you in speeches, we're an occupied country. I gave Angela Merkel the white flag of surrender. You had a reporter in February this year asking President Trump about a puppet government and a capitulation. You saw the capitulations involved President Trump. He was the first person to go in the forbidden city of China in 500 years. He handed the sumo wrestler, which the emperor's supposed to do, he handed the trophy to. He walked in front of the queen. He was crowned the king in a Saudi Arabian sword dance. All right. He left the Argentinian president on the stage. He pushed all those leaders out of the way at the NATO summit. You've watched the greatest operation known to man, and you want to question the man when it comes to something as simple, and the media sitting there telling you straight out the gate that your information's already with a few agencies and they're going to consolidate it to one. You don't want to believe that. If you believe President Trump's in control of everything, or if he's right about everything, and they're going to drain the swamp, and we're going to take the power out of D.C. and give it back to you, the people, why aren't you listening to the man you claim to support? It always goes back to that. Listen to the man you claim to support, but you can't. There's no use to listening to him if you don't know the laws and the orders of what he's using, what he's working with. The ball cap, 45-47, the dash matters. If it didn't, he wouldn't put it on his ball cap. It would be 45-47, 45 and 47. A dash in English means through. 45 through 47. And the laws and orders are unique laws and orders that, no, you don't want to happen any time in history unless there's been a what? Invasion or rebellion of public safety. Our gravest threats are not abroad, they're within. He tells you this. He's told you this. The laws and orders more than clearly outline this. And all those terms, capitulation, white flag and surrender, occupied territory, puppet government. And I'm the only one who's talked about puppet governments. Rest in peace to my grandfather. He'll be gone in September 20 years. All right. He's the one that taught me about puppet governments. They were used in the 40s. All right. This is nothing new. It's just new for people who've never heard it. It's all BS to people who never heard it. But it's really atrocious when it's someone who claims to be a Republican, claims to be a conservative, claims to be a President Trump supporter who says all of it's BS. All you're doing is a disjustice to yourself, to President Trump, and to the military, past, present, and those who've taken the ultimate sacrifice. Because again, with the Social Security, this pot of money's there that everybody paid into. You got two options. Do you want President Trump, the one you claim is right about everything, and he is because it's an operation. He's not right about everything because he's President Trump. He's not right about everything because he's an outsider. He's right about everything because this was an operation. He told you with Keith Kellogg. He's been with me from day one. He's the one who said we need to get this guy in. All right. He was asked to do this. He was asked to put his name, face, brand, image, and sign all this and be the one to get the credit for taking all this. But it's pre-planned. It's a pre-strategy. It's a strategy. It's all strategic. It's in laws and orders that make up a unique set of laws and orders and blueprint that outline unconventional warfare, covert operations, clandestine operations. When they want you to know about them, they'll let you know about them. And then it's a continuity government, government in exile. It's all special operations. And there are laws and orders that more than clearly show you those are invoked, those are in place. So if you love the man, if you support the man, that's exactly what's in place. And if you trust the man, then you got to trust everything. All right. And so that Social Security pot is sitting there. So do you want President Trump, who knows everything, pre-planned, to have control of that? Or do you want that pot handed back to the deep state, the swamp? Do you want the old system back? Is that what you want? So no one should be questioning President Trump if you're a President Trump supporter. Because if you know the laws and orders in place, you should be questioning. All right, if you follow me, you definitely should be questioning. All right, so there's that. Now, for people who don't know and didn't know, welcome aboard. But if you're going to follow me, if you're brand new to my page, you got to go way back. You got to scroll to the very bottom when it was more chronological. All right, posts were chronological from the very beginning, all right, until a certain point, and then just started, bouncing around because people were pretty much awake that had followed me. All right, but President Trump shows you daily. He said it in speeches in October, November. We're an occupied country. We will soon no longer be an occupied country. All right, they partially revoked January the 19th continuity government. So it's moving closer. We're getting closer. All right, there will be revelations. Absolutely. They're going to have to. They're going to have to, because the only way we can set precedent on a new future and not to look like the past, there's got to be precedents on this is what's going to happen if you burn the flag. This is what's going to happen if you do this. This is what's going to happen if you do that. Here's the consequences of this. Here's the consequences of that. Here's what's going to happen if you abuse your power here. So just wait. But here's the thing, and I'm going to close because I got people in town and I've got a big day ahead of me tomorrow. But here's the thing you got to remember. The military works on our time, not your time. It works on military time, not your time. The whole operation is to get things right. It's a resetting of the foundation, just as prescribed in the Declaration of Independence. That's why liberals look atrocious. They look terrible. Now, they can, though, and we should want them to come on board, as hard as that is to comprehend, as atrocious as they look right now. But that's what we're supposed to be doing, is teaching these people, hey, you're not educated. You're educated on a man-made system of something that's completely different. The only education that matters right now is a foundation, and these are most definitely lawful orders. All right, they're prescribed, and they've been on paper for years. So if they weren't lawful, then multiple past Congresses should abolish them. All right, and they didn't do that. All right, so they're there. They are lawful. All right, and the military orders have been there for years and years and years. All right, the current Title 10 that was overhauled was put into place in 1956. All right, the overhaul of what we have at Title 10. So August 1956. All right, so that's how atrocious liberals look right now. So where we are, all right, where we are in history is very important. Very, very important. All right, if you're a Republican conservative and you don't want to know what President Trump's working with, you're no different than a liberal. You're acting like a liberal and you're in the mindset of a liberal. So if you love the man, you should want to know everything that made this man incredible and the name he is, because he did take his name, brand, and put it on that. All right. He's not the one that wrote all these things, but he said, you know what? Yes, he does understand it. He does comprehend it, most definitely. But you got to let this play out. And here's why. If you get to, I'm 42 years old. If I get to live to be 92, 50 years, easy math. All right. It's not going to take 50 years for this. Now we're going to deal with some ramifications. There's going to be some little things because some liberals are going to be, it's going to be a small number, but there's going to be some that just don't want to get it. All right. And it depends on where you live. Thank God I don't live around any liberals, so I'll be okay. But those complaining right now, those who hit a bump, you're human. I get it to a level, but at some point you got to get on board the right way. You got to change your attitude, flip your switch, flip the attitude, flip it. Just flip your script is what I always say. It's one of my quotes. Flip your script. All right. Right now we're at 9 years, working on 10. If it did take 12 years, all right, you got to look at what you had before President Trump and how old you are. You've never seen the federal government look the way it's supposed to. You've never seen the state governments look the way they're supposed to. You've never seen even local, anything, look the way it's supposed to. Your whole life has been a conundrum and a lie, depending on what it is. Congress, bureaucrats, economy, it's been a topsy-turvy all the time. Gas, inflation, taxes, prices. They created their own checks and balances. They created problems they had solutions to. It was never for us, the people. That's why President Trump hammered that, and you can hear it. If you know the language, you can hear it. He's sitting there saying, he said, how come we didn't take the oil? Talking about Iraq. Well, most Americans thought we did take the oil. No, he's saying the Bushes took the oil, not we, the United States of America. So you got to listen to the man. All right, so there's certain things that they're just not going to open and rip the Band-Aid off to right now because you're taking the biggest problems first and solving it and working your way down. And that's what's taking place. So if it took till 2029, I'm not saying it is, but let's just say it is. 12 years of your life, when you get on the flip side, when we get into the golden age, when we're winning so much we get tired of winning, when taxes are unshackled from people, all different things, when you're winning, when you're seeing the results of that. President Trump just said something very bold the other day. He said, our ammo and our military equipment's back to where it needs to be, but we will never have to use them. Never have to use them. That should show people right there. If you say Trump was right about everything, and he has been, but that's all because of military laws and military orders and the military occupation and the military operation and the continuity government, that's the only way he can be right about everything. When you know that, that should show you where the world is right now. You shouldn't fret about China. You shouldn't fret about anything because the capitulations, what they've already shown you. So if that's already there. Anyone who argues that at this point, again, atrocious, moron, maybe just can't comprehend it. But let them go. Don't even try to waste your brain cells on them. They got 2 brain cells fighting for 3 chambers. That's what they have, if you hear anybody like that. All right, so where we are, if it took 12 years, on the flip side, you're going to look back and be like, man, and you're going to see the 150 years, especially everybody who knows about the corporation and also knows about the Organic Act, and when Canada went back under the crown in 1867, and we did too in 1871, 150 years, and then when you hear people out there, there's a few liberals who've said this comment, and they said, oh, well, everything that President Trump did has been put in the executive orders. We can overturn some of these things. Your Democrat liberal bureaucracy for the past 70 years didn't do hardly anything for the American people. What President Trump has done in just 9 years' time, and what you've seen, when people see their taxes unshackled, when people see the paychecks flourishing, the gas all the way down, food costs all the way down, housing costs, and everything else, when everybody sees America the way it was supposed to look, they ain't going to want to go back. They ain't going to want to go back. That's why Abraham Lincoln knew when black people fought in the Civil War, he knew that when black people fought for their own freedom and they got a taste of freedom, they weren't going to go back and they were going to fight for it. So see, a lot of people have been taught the wrong principles in life. And what we're standing on right now is good versus evil. This is all principle based. Everything's principle based. All right. And so that's why you, the patriots, you, the Republicans, you, the conservatives, you really should not be, whoever you are out there. This ain't to my followers, because my followers are good as gold and they're patriots and they're trying. It's a difference in trying. So that's what I was telling someone the other day. I said, if you're trying, it's not a dumb question. But when you ask a dumb question, I can tell if you've been reading or not. So it's one thing if you've been reading, there's a way that you can tell. You can tell if someone's been reading or not. All right, so people will come in the inbox and I'm like, you're not been reading. Why would I waste my time explaining this to you when you haven't even read a single ounce that's free on my pages, on my time, my dime, and my brain, all me, service beyond service. You can tell when people are reading or not. So the people who are trying, you're trying. There's not a dumb question. But when you come to my page or someone refers you over to my page and you don't read or study anything and you just want all the answers given to you, you're showing the same thing that the swamp did. And guess what ended up happening? In the old swamp, plagiarism took place a lot. There are a lot of people out there who have taken all of my information and try to make it look like theirs. Now, they'll say, well, it's all laws and orders, it's all public. Yeah, but intellectual property. No one knew that this was a military occupation. No one knew this was continuity of government. No one knew. No one ever presented it. That's why I flew onto the scene. All right? Because I am veteran. I do know what's going on lawfully. And they're all lawful orders. All right? That's what makes it unique. But I haven't abused my platform either. All right? That's why you still see me all Western up, all cowboyed up. No fancy backgrounds, no anything. I'll go live in a truck. I'll have to turn on the light. I've been in the dark sometimes because the light wasn't that great. So it's all there. So it don't matter how long it takes. We're getting it right. But if you're reading, studying, and comprehending what's in place lawfully, then it shouldn't matter how long it takes. Because every day is a victory. Every day is a win. And you'll see the wins and victories when you're studying the laws and the orders of the man you claim to support. And all you liberals out there, yes, I'm supposed to want you on board. I am. But some of you are in a reprobate mind. You don't want to get right. You just everything is all based on your ideology and your little self and your little groups out there. All right. So again, you can know, but most of you don't want to know. And that's what's sad and atrocious. All right, but if you won't stand up for children, we're going to have some problems. All right, and that's what's taking place. You're out there, you liberals are quote-unquote protesting. You don't know any law and order that's invoked right now. And you're quote-unquote protesting a bunch of unlawful migrants who majority of them have trafficking on their records. Child trafficking. You are no different than them. If you're going to defend them and stand up for that, you're no different than them. You also need deported. You also need taken into custody if you're out there acting like an idiot. And it needs to be on your record. And hey, you should be proud of your little quote-unquote protest if you go to prison for something that you didn't even know was going on. And then when you go to get a job and you have to check the little mark that says, have you ever committed a felony? Yes. And you should pay for that. All right, so if you love children and if you care about the children and the future of this nation, because it don't even just have to do with child trafficking, which it does, but the future of America is also children, because we have to educate them on the principles and the standards of the foundation of the greatest ideology ever put into place on planet Earth. So children are always a part of this. And if you're not going to stand up for that, then guess what's going to happen? When you say you'll fight for your neighborhoods and you're standing up, this is what the one dude said, we'll fight for our neighborhood. You're fighting for unlawful migrants who have criminal records. That's what you're saying. So when you stand in the way of the military, prepare to get your face smashed in. All right, that's what's going to happen. All right, so you can know what's going on. It's all lawful. And you got a veteran here, and there's multiple veterans around me on special operations who can tell you it's all lawful. You probably need to know the laws and orders before you start saying they're unlawful, and all. You don't even know that, liberals. So when you stand in the way, you're going to get your face smashed in. All right, and then if it were up to me, I'd take my dirty, stanky, wet, sweaty sock off and cram it down your throat while you're on the ground where you can't even say anything. All right, that's what I would do if, I was operating on the ground. And then you'd have to think about it that way with my dirty, sweaty sock in your mouth while you're handcuffed and hog-tied like hogs are done in the South. All right, that's what I would do to you. But they're not doing that. They're actually treating some of you with dignity even after you get beanbagged in the ball sack and you fall down like the little pansies you are. All right, all right. It's good to see y'all here, and sorry I can't go live on Sunday like I always do, but I've been traveling. I've been to the great state of Utah with Patriots out there, great Patriots, and also in Idaho. And so I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you're in Nashville, I will be out. There'll be a couple places that I'll be out publicly if you want to come out and see me, but tomorrow is big recording day. And all this ties into, I have a #1 best-selling book right now explaining how country music's all rigged and how it all ties into the dirty system. So thank you all for making The Midnight Rider Rides Again a #1 bestseller, part 1 and 2. And then also The Royal Flush of Country Music for making it a #1 bestseller. And we're taking back this nation. We're taking back the ideology. We're taking back the foundation. And that's what's taking place right now. So we'll see you guys soon, and I'll have this posted on Rumble very soon. My link tree is linktr.ee/1776nation. Be sure to make sure you're following the correct pages. There's a lot of fraudulent pages out there that are scamming people. I never ask for money. I don't ask for money, and I also don't say, hey, message me on this number or anything like that. All right, so that's not me if you're getting those messages. So Linktree, linktr, period. That's where the period goes. linktr, period, /1776nation. Enter. It pulls up all my official accounts. So make sure you're following the correct pages. And we'll see everybody.